And we're live.
Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today is Dash's 5th birthday. Happy birthday, Dash.
Excellent. That was hilarious. Right. Welcome to Dash Podcast, episode 87. What a fantastic intro there by Evan Duffield. Yes, it's Dash's 5th birthday today. Amazing. 5th anniversary. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I'm Mark Mason. Welcome to the podcast. And I'm joined by my two fellow hosts, Joel Valenzuela.
Hi.
And stepping in for Brian is Justin once again. How's it going, Justin?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I thought Joel's impressions are just amazing. So I truly hope everyone in the live chat appreciated that, because that took us too long to organize what it was.
We spent no time preparing for anything, just that.
And in today's episode of the podcast, we have a special guest from the Dash Core Group team, Anton Suprunchuk, Dash Evolution backend developer. We did have a bit of a conversation about how to pronounce the surname, but in English, there kind of is no right way. But anyway, Anton, welcome to the show.
Yay, thank you guys.
Right, okay, so this is interesting because I've always seen your face on the team page on dash.org, but I've never actually spoken to you before. So it says that you are a Dash Evolution backend developer, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Also, I'm responsible for all the JavaScript libraries we have in Dash. So, for example, if you take a look at our GitHub and our JavaScript libraries, for example, on Dash Core Lib, which is, re-implementation of all the core stuff in JavaScript, you actually can see that I'm soon will, bring more commits than the original libraries author. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I actually joined Dash in 2017, but I'm not really a social type of guy, so this is the reason why you never heard anything about me. But I'm there for a pretty long time already, actually.
Oh, well, we're very grateful for you coming on, and I promise I'll go easy on you. You're recovering from last week, but we're grateful for you coming on. But you just said JavaScript, and that's quite interesting because we've heard before that Evolution itself, the platform, is being built on JavaScript first, correct? So is that why you mentioned that? And then later on, we're hoping to get other languages to support everyone. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think the main reason for this decision was that nowadays JavaScript is the most popular language. It's the most popular platform with web. Web become a really big thing in the recent years. So this is the platform we targeted as our first platform to release Evolution.
Excellent. So you joined the core team in 2017, right?
Yeah, right.
So okay, so you've been working for Core for a while now. So can you just tell us the story, your journey, your Dash story? How did you become a developer for Dash? Did you see a job? Did you volunteer? 2 weeks ago we heard Pastor's journey into it, and it was very insightful. So what was your journey into Dash becoming a developer?
Yeah, so my journey in crypto in general is actually, I've been in crypto longer than Dash actually is. I mined Bitcoin. I had a mining Bitcoin rig with Radeon 7000 cards. It was like Bitcoin 0.8, I think. It was 2013, probably something around this date. So I've been in crypto for a while, and I've seen all that stuff, MTGOX crash, all that stuff. So yeah, that was quite an interesting journey. And I was involved in several small crypto projects before. And here's a story how I've ended up in Dash. I've been in a chat, I'm using Telegram as my, way to communicate to people. And I was in a really big group of developers from all over the world. And one guy, Vito Neck, he's actually doing some infrastructural stuff in Dash now. He just posted something like, hey guys, we need a guy to support our JavaScript stuff in Dash core group. Do you by chance know anyone? And there was some list of requirements, and I was like, whoa, this is me. And I kind of, I was really into Dash before, so I just typed him, hey man, I think we can do something. And yeah.
So you saw job posting and you thought, this is me. They're describing me. I'm going to go for this. Now, this is interesting because we don't often hear this side. So can you talk to us about the recruitment process? Did they look at your portfolio? Who interviewed you in core?
Yeah. Alex Werner actually interviewed me. Well, this was, I would say, quite normal technical interview as, for a developer. I just sent my CV with all my previous jobs, what I do, all that stuff. Then we had a call with project manager we have back then, Luba. She's now not in Dash anymore. Yeah, then she arranged a call with Alex. We chatted with Alex for some time, and then he decided that I'm a good fit for the team. So this is how I've ended up in Dash. It's actually pretty, standard technical job interview, except, of course, you need to, some stuff about crypto. This is not the requirement, but I think it's a good thing.
Excellent. Right. I'll let Joel or Justin jump in. Otherwise, I'll just keep hogging it.
Oh, you can keep hogging it all you want. But I think big question, when Evo? Which I know everyone's looking for hard dates and stuff, like whatever. I know that's not always possible. How close do you think we are at this point? I know I've heard a lot of stuff. I'm starting to figure out how stuff is coming together. Do you think is it like you're seeing it's like, it's just like so ready to, I just have to finish a couple little things and it's ready? Is it like looking really close?
Well, I would say that this looking pretty close now, but you see people talking about evolution for a pretty long time, and each time someone starts to speak about evolution, I don't know, you always, I think, heard some kind of optimistic thing that it will be, in a couple of months or something like this. And this has been a long time, actually. And this may sound, a little bit, I wouldn't say optimistic, but I really think that we are almost there. But I don't think it would be the nearest future, because we still have to go through a number of hard forks before we actually can release evolution on mainnet, and this will take time. Version 13 require a hard fork, and when it happens, it wouldn't be, it should happen pretty soon, but no guarantees. And then we will have 2 more hard forks, version 14 and version 14 or 15 or version 1 afterwards. So it definitely will require some time. And beyond that, we still need to finish some stuff on some of our components.
Yeah, so I heard about version 14 that it would be a simpler, easier upgrade than version 13. I did not hear the details behind that. Something along the lines of it won't need to wait until there's a majority of the hash rate behind it or something like that. I could be completely wrong, but
I think that what will be included in version 14 isn't really decided yet. It's, kind of fluid thing. We really want to include LLMQs there and chain locks, which is a pretty exciting feature, by the way, because, Dash will become one of the first cryptos with a very low chance of 51% attack.
Yes, which, by the way, that's something that I definitely want to do. As soon as that's out, I want to try to get hard metrics on the cost of a 51% attack for Dash, as in how much it would, like a realistic, of course, everything's an estimate, right? But how much it would cost to acquire the mining hardware to pull off the hash rate, and how much it would cost to acquire the Dash that's necessary to run the master nodes. And of course, obviously, when you do a run on the market like that, it inflates prices and it makes it even harder. But even barring that, it would be nice to have a hard number and then compare it to the hard number for Bitcoin. And I can't wait until there's a time when you could just put metrics next to each other and just say that Dash is harder to attack than Bitcoin, which with chain locks, it probably already would be much harder completely. But as far as just like a thing on paper, because people want to have statistics they get publicly sourced that are clear. And even if it's not exactly a fair and complete picture, it'd be great to say it costs this much to attack Dash and it costs less to attack Bitcoin. Dash is the most secure. Dash is the real digital gold. Go away, Bitcoin, or something like that. Obviously, I'm always thinking in the promoter type mindset, but yeah, that's something I'm very excited at.
Okay, excellent. So, Justin, you got anything, or I'm gonna go full force?
All right, so I got more of a lighthearted question. You might have seen Joe and I drinking some beer to celebrate Dash's 5th anniversary. Since you said you came in before Dash was even created and you were in the Bitcoin world, what would you say that Dash, the one thing that Dash has done the best at since you first entered this space?
I think the governance is actually the most important thing because, well, if you take a look at crypto now, not that much projects using this amazing governance feature. And this is actually very amazing because it makes projects kind of self-funding. Because with, I think it's, you know, when people start an ICO, it's just like selling software once. But having some kind of governance, as Dash has, is like having a subscription, which is a way better business model. And we also have all this, you know, we can, I mean, not we, but Dash community can support different initiatives. And this is really cool stuff. And I think this is a really great feature.
So you see Dash really as the community project in crypto. Decentralized everything, and that's of course we say that's its secret sauce, but that was the big appeal to you as well. And you do you still believe Dash is still ahead of the pack in when it comes to decentralized governance in the DAO?
Yeah. So to add to that, for example, I believe Decred just came out with their Politeia platform. I've been poking around through their treasury a little bit and their proposals, and so I haven't really looked in too deep. But also, I'm not the brain that you are, so. What do you think? How does Dash measure up in the governance world of today?
You mean measures across all the other platforms that have some kind of governance model?
Yeah, cryptocurrency platforms.
Yeah. How do you think we measure? Do you think we're doing good? Do you think we're behind? Do you still think we're in front?
I think we are doing good. And mostly because Dash is kind of, you know, a big platform, not like actually the fact that Dash costs more than all these projects give us more freedom to redirect all this money to different projects. And yeah, I think we are doing actually pretty good in this space.
Yeah, Dash might be the largest governance coin out there, right? As far as DAO or anything like that. So definitely ahead of the pack. One thing someone was asking me, I believe on some sort, I can't remember if it was on an interview or off air. I've been doing so many this week, but was asking me, do you think that like the treasury system has been like a lesson learned, like a failure kind of thing, like that it didn't work out? And I was like, no, for one thing, it worked out great, but also it's evolved so much. Like I remember in the early days, you just any old guy saying, I'll get a bunch of meetups and Dash users and blah, 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 and just like put in a proposal and he just gets the money and he disappears. It's just so much harder for that to happen today with things like Dash Watch looking into stuff, different governance platforms, a whole lot of more escrow options available, just a whole bunch of extra things out there. And so there's a lot of evolution in Dash's governance that has had nothing to do with the code itself.
Yeah, and I think that still we have a big room for improvement still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Speaking of our own Dash evolution, the governance in some ways recently had an evolution with Nexus, and I guess that may in the future somehow tie in with evolution as well. We hope. What have you had a chance to check out Dash Nexus yourself?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Well, look, actually, I just want to add on to what Joel just said. I completely agree that a lot of, although we innovated in the space and kind of really led from the front, and we're still there in terms of crypto market cap, in terms of being a DAO in other projects. But yeah, things like accountability, Dashwatch, we've learned many lessons, reviewing just the submission process. These have been lessons that have been learned over the years. And so I believe it's been a huge success, and it's actually the community's input more so than really cause at a protocol level that's kind of shaped the DAO and how we should move forward in terms of pre-proposals, submitting proposals. So I think it's only right on Dash's 5th birthday that we pay homage to the Dash DAO itself, and wish Nexus the best in the future. Now, Anton, you mentioned Alex Werner, big friend of the podcast, and that interviewed you, and I believe he is the lead for the back end of Evolution, right?
Right now, he's working on DashPay, and on the Backend, I've took a leading position after him.
Right. Okay. I'm just wondering if we could try and get into the specifics a little bit. So, can you be specific on some of the stuff that you've been working on recently?
Yeah, sure.
Anything in general? Like, what are you working on right now?
Yeah, in the most recently, I was working on supporting version 13 release because, well, actually, this is was absolutely top priority for the upcoming weeks. And when at the time when there is no release situation, I'm working mostly on DAPI and the client-side library. So for people who maybe do not know what DAPI is, DAPI stands for Decentralized API, and this would be your ordinary HTTP API, but decentralized, and it also will have some kind of number of convenient JavaScript libraries you can use. We want to make it as easy as possible for developers to integrate Dash. So with DAPI, for example, you won't need to install your own Dash core node to run a daemon, because you can use just the API to do your stuff with crypto. And we also want to provide, just as I said before, a set of very convenient JavaScript libraries for front-end developers to integrate, because I think this is actually a big problem nowadays in crypto. Development for crypto is actually a pretty hard task. You need to know a lot of things, and we want to make it, your ordinary web app development style, something like this.
Well, I do appreciate that you have to hold a lot of cards close to your chest. You can't reveal too much until the big launch. Otherwise, there'll be no surprises, right? But let's make it a bit interesting. What for you has been the most challenging aspect on working on Dash Evolution so far?
Yes, and the preface of that is, back in late 2015, Evan's just like, we're going to do all these amazing things, and then go for it. And everyone's like, how do we even do this? Is this possible? Oh, just scrambling for years to figure it out. So what was the most difficult bit the sort of challenging bit to kind of figure out how to do?
I think the most challenging part was to design, the whole off-chain storage system. And actually, this initially was designed by Andy. Yeah, so I worked with Andy for some time.
Yeah, he recommended you come on the podcast.
Yeah, and he was doing an amazing job, and this is a foundation for the evolution. This, the whole protocol system for this, for basically the evolution. It's to design this is, I think that's the hardest part, because unlike blockchain, in blockchain, all the data is kind of very well known even before it, lands on blockchain, because all the data formats are described there. It's just nicely formatted data. It's known. While with evolution, we will give a tool for developers to create their own data structures, and this is quite challenging to develop a system that maintains this blockchain level of integrity while being flexible. This is a very hard thing. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see, because Bitcoin worked well. It did its job. And then you have people trying to do non-Bitcoin things, like, say, for example, Ethereum and all kinds of other things. And we just see how complicated things get quickly. And that's one thing I've noticed with Ethereum, from just looking from an outsider perspective, is just it's extremely ambitious. And that makes it very vulnerable to mistakes, because it's hard to just get everything right. It's hard to balance everything. And just like, as I said, I'm pretty sure we'll see the words Ethereum hack paired together for a long time to come, just from the nature of the beast. Do you think that's going to be a problem with Dash as well, because of the introduced complexity?
To some degree, yes. But the evolution, at least the very first release, will be much more simpler than we have in Ethereum, because we won't give a developer an ability to execute the code on the blockchain. This is what Ethereum allows you, and we want to allow this at least for, I don't know how long. Yeah, so this will introduce, of course, some challenges because of its complexity, but yeah.
Excellent. So how do you... We had Pastor on before, and I think one of the topics at the moment that the community is really keen on is not so much the development within the Dash Core group itself. It's actually inspiring and attracting developers in the community as well. So as a developer yourself, how do you think Core can attract developers to work on Dash?
Well, first of all, I think we need to release very high quality SDKs for the developers. This is something very important, because I think crypto community lacks this now. And I mean, Ethereum have its truffle development kit and all that stuff, but it's still quite not there yet in terms of convenience for developers. So I think this is one of the main selling points, having a really good and clean interfaces. And of course, since we are open source project, developers will also open repositories, try to look at different stuff. So we want to maintain a very high code quality as well. So, developers would be say, hey, I know, I've seen this code. I know that this is working great. I love to communicate with SDKs, do this stuff. And I think this would be one of the main selling points to developers.
So apart from documentation and opening up the GitHub, making it more open source, what would you like to see? How do you think we could, are you a fan of hackathons? Instead of just the documentation, do you think that's going to be good enough on its own? What would you like to see as a developer? Because you're in the development world. So in your ideal world, as you're working so hard on this, you want people to build an evolution. So what would you like to see in your ideal world? If budget was no option, would you like to see hackathons or university campus tours? What would you like to see?
That's a good question. I'm actually myself not a big fan of different hackathons because, well, it gets a bit harder to, code overnight 3 days in a row when you get a bit older. So I'm not into that thing anymore. But I definitely think that this is actually a good thing to do. Well, what else? I think this is very important that, but this is again depends on us developers, that we travel more to different parts of the world to present our product on different conferences for developers. This is, I think, very important when people see developers who created a product, and when this developer is explaining what are they doing, why they are doing this, it's just, it just leaves a good impression about product, and you kind of want to know more if you've seen a person who developed something in person.
Yeah, you mentioned Ethereum before, and Ethereum is well known for having these DevCon events where all these developers flood in. Can you ever imagine Dash having a DevCon?
That would be amazing.
I mean, that's the pinnacle. That's where we need to get to. But like I say, we need to have the documentation and everything lined up first before we can get to that stage. Do you have friends that are developers as well?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Outside of Dash.
Yeah.
So what tools do you think they would need for them to get in? Because you're obviously very passionate about evolution, what you're building on, and you want developers to build on it, right? So how do you think you could get your friends on it? Because if you have that mindset to sell it that way, then you're onto a good thing. Or do you just detach yourself from it and say, that's not my job?
No, I wouldn't say that that's not my job, because, just as I said before, I'm not very social guy, so I'm not really, I'm posting some things from time to time on Reddit. I'm on Discord, actually, but I'm not actually typing there anything. But it doesn't mean that I do not understand the importance of promoting those tools I've built by myself, because I'm a part of community as well, right? I'm not just a random guy in Dash Core group. I'm the part of community as well, and so I need to do something to encourage other people to do things with Dash too. Actually, I think, well, I'm talking with my friends about what I'm doing in Dash already, kind of, and some of them already want to see evolution and try how it would be, because a lot of my friends are actually interested in crypto too. So some of them are actually excited about seeing things, trying to work with them.
So what excites your friends about the project? I mean, are they talking about dApps, decentralized apps ideas and stuff, saying, oh, we could build this on it, we could build that? What gets them most excited about it?
I think the main point is that we will be one. I think we will be, but I can't say for sure, of course, that at the point of release of Evolution, we will be one of the most user and developer friendly cryptos. And having all those usernames, database kind of structure, that you can just store data, that you can just request data from the off-chain storage, this kind of things, I think, yeah. It's actually pretty hard to build I wouldn't say that this is pretty hard to build a smart contract on Ethereum that actually is a product. It's actually kind of hard to build something on Ethereum that has users, all this, just standard web application stuff that you can see on some kind of, I don't know, Steam, for example. Yeah, some kind of block platform. To build something like this on Ethereum, it actually takes a lot of effort. And with Dash Evolution, it would be really simple. You just need to describe, your data structure, that you have users, posts, all that stuff. It will be just a simple JSON schema. just
You've
like
just
this.
got me really excited because it was only last Friday in the after party of the podcast was talking about use cases. And we know from the business strategy, they're focused on Latin America, exchanges for arbitrage for instant send, and various other actions. But when we think about use cases for Dash right now, people have been talking about Patreon and things like this. We're seeing people going through censorship. And one of the things I think would be great, and we discussed, was having a Steam It version of Dash, because that would enable content creators, box mining, crypto news, to put their blogs at first and eventually videos, we'd hope. But they could put all that on there using their DashPay names, but then we could use that as Patreon as well. And then you could subscribe to them a certain amount of Dash each month. And that way, Dash has a clear use case in the Western world that isn't just cryptocurrency related. People could have on their blogs about all kinds of hobbies, multimedia news things, can post things on there. I think the applications for this is absolutely critical. And think about all the microtransactions as well that would go on the network. I really hope that someone takes that on and goes with it, because it's missing right now. Because
I do too. In fact, that's actually the entire reason I got into Dash, was because way back in the day, I had the idea of I'm going to do some kind of activism and do like organized volunteer activism, and it worked pretty well. And I decided I was going to just run, because I used to run the fundraising department of a nonprofit, and I just know the whole like asking people for money, trying to get recurring donations, all that kind of stuff. And it's like I remember just all the money I'd get for the nonprofit, it costs just in my salary a big chunk of that. And I would just think, this is inefficient. What if you didn't have to do this? So I tried to run a thing exclusively on Bitcoin donations. And I did it for a while. And the couple pain points I ran into. One, I wanted people to be able to easily see you doing good things in the streets and then tip you for it. Just tip on site. And crypto busking, I kind of called it. When you like you're playing with a guitar or whatever, and someone comes by and throws some change into your case. That, but with cryptocurrency, and it's with the QR code. Oh, let me get that right, and or the long address is just not feasible. So usernames. Second thing was trustless recurring payments. Whereas, wouldn't it be great if someone with their Bitcoin wallet could just send automatically? And then when I saw the evolution demo videos that Evan was coming up with, and I just saw those two things, I'm like, this guy gets it. This guy gets it. I'm in on this. I got to be part of this. I got to put all that on hold and be part of this until it's developed enough to make sure it actually works like that, to where you could do that. And so this exact kind of crypto Patreon type thing on a protocol level you can't shut down, and the usernames and all that, it's exactly what I was waiting for.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we are doing right now. So, yeah.
Have you discussed this idea then already? It sounds like I can see a little twinkle in your eye, like you know more, but you just censored yourself. Is that the case?
Well, yeah, actually, we have a lot of ideas for this recurrent payments and building some kind of block platforms on top of Evolution. We really want to make it easier for people to develop decentralized systems. We want to make it as simple as it would be to build a centralized system. This is the whole point. And, of course, it should have all the same capabilities that centralized system has, but being decentralized.
It also helps the liquidity issue, because then with all these microtransactions in Dash on a platform like this, so I know we're just talking about an idea concept here, but just all those extra microtransactions, yes, is great for transaction data and look at the charts and for bragging rights, but actually it helps put Dash in people's pockets as well. So if the day eventually comes that we're no longer funded and Justin has to find some way to make some extra money, he could, whether that be doing a blog post on there, and people could fund him, or he could post paintings on there, or he could busk, like Joel was saying, with his guitar, pleading on video.
Great paintings.
So
I have a bunch of those French girl paintings of myself, in case anyone wants to see them.
I will pay you not to show them, okay?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because this isn't exactly like just Dash exclusive ideas. Everyone knows that Justin's a big fan of Spank Chain, or rather, Spank Chain has been something that's come up frequently in discussions because of the crypto payments for the adult industry, specifically live streaming kind of things, and about all the that's an industry that has a lot of problems with payments. And so it would be very easy to just that's like a classic use case to just like run in and introduce Dash payments to.
That's interesting from a development point of view. So Anton, so blog wise, I'm just thinking backend now. Blog wise is okay because in terms of text, it's not that much. Now hosting video, I know Dash drive limitations. Storing video, as we saw when Steemit did DLive, and that's got some problems right now. And so hosting videos is quite problematic. We're going to have to think about storage and getting it streamlined. However, broadcasting, now I'm not just thinking adult entertainment, I'm just talking about broadcasting, gamers, all kinds of people. That's UDP, right? Because you're live streaming that. So that would actually be easier to from a development point of view. Live streaming would be a much easier angle to go for first than actually storing massive archives of video on the blockchain. Is that correct, Anton? Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, we can't really host videos on Dash Drive now because it's very complicated thing to do, and it actually requires a lot of storage. And in this kind of network, it's really hard to implement. So yeah, you're right. We want to do this at least in the first couple of releases of Evolution. But what I can say for streaming, that we actually discussed some stuff regarding possible peer-to-peer connections, and yeah, I won't say that it would be out in the very first versions, but we considering doing some kind of systems. It's still in very early discussions. But yes.
Yeah, because broadcasting is dependent on your bandwidth. So UDP is kind of the opposite of TCP, where you want trust. UDP is kind of well, they say it's like unreliable because it's streaming. Because if you're down, I was a Cisco engineer before I got involved in this, so I was involved with networking. So if you're downloading a video, right, you're catching those packets and it's seeing how fast you can download it and sending that back because it's trusted, right? But if you're streaming, it's unreliable. So you can't just go back and say, oh, we're doing, I can handle this much bandwidth. It's either, it's that way forward. So I think actually something like Spank Chain, for those that don't know, is a live broadcasting video format. It's in the adult industry, but it's the same applicable format for, say, Twitch gaming, or even people just doing live recording broadcasts at conferences, whatever. So I think this is another angle that could be easily tapped into. Just think about that as the application of that. People, gamers, you're going to open Dash up to a whole new market. So that's why I'm interested about Evolution, because by people creating Dash Pay usernames on that in itself is a new bank account. But that bank account isn't just universal. Sorry, it's not just restricted to that one platform. It's universal, and eventually we'll be able to carry that bank account and that username across multiple applications. That's the true power. And if people haven't grasped that concept yet, that's the kicker for Dash. When you sign up to websites and services now, and you can choose to authenticate your login via Google, that's what Dash Pay can be, and hopefully will be used for many services. So you can just use that one account across all sorts. And hopefully Anton and his team will do a good job of making it plug and play, click and pay. So services can just integrate that, just like, sign in, create an account with your Facebook account or Google or Dash Pay. Right, Anton?
Yeah, right. We actually have a plan for even, some kind of authorization system. When you have a button, like login with Dash, and when you press the button, you have a notification on your phone, like, do you really want to log into that site with Dash? And you can have yes or no answers, and if you click yes, magic happens and you are authorized on the service with Dash.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting. And one thing I've noticed, this is something I've been all about for a while, is alternative forms of identity. Because right now, governments officially make who is who by giving you official government ID. And I noticed that there's the room where you have people like, say, Mukamu, completely trusted, respected, everything, absolutely a real person and an identity, but not associated with, government paperwork necessarily. And so I noticed that a lot of times to be able to check someone's actual identity, people have started using Facebook, because Facebook is so universal, and it's just your Facebook page, and then you can communicate through it, and then with the Messenger app, you can send money through it. And so the Facebook, although the thing is, Facebook is still centrally controlled, and they started banning people for having, crazy usernames. Although my friend Fantasia Swahili is still up there with that name, but I don't know when they're going to get him. But so it would be very interesting to find your Dash username then becomes your first source of identity. And so people start trusting that, hey, what's your Dash ID? Because if you're getting a message from a Dash account, especially like a funded Dash account, it's probably going to be a real person and not just some random internet sock puppet, just because there's probably money behind it. You can kind of see the the history behind it. You can see that they set something up, and then you can start plugging that into everything. What do you think about the identification, the voluntary self-identification potential of the Dash Evolution platform?
Yeah, of course. I think this is actually, one of our primary goals as well, to create one central, kind of identity point. But when you say it about funded accounts, I want to note one thing. It won't be possible to track your transactions using only your username. Yeah, so your transactional history would be completely anonymous based on your username. So
that already makes it very good and superior to say other forms of cryptocurrency that don't have advanced privacy features, just from that, because you can see an address, you can look the address back up and just see, where to come from, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas just like looking at the username, it's still that one point of reference you can keep sharing everywhere, but you can't kind of see behind it just from looking at that.
There's a big thing in trust and responsibility as well. More than ever, people are very data privacy centric. So if you come across a new service and then you have to create an email account and a password, now there may be vulnerabilities in the future where certain big websites get hacked and then that information becomes leaked and available. That's the advantage in terms of data privacy, that some websites are trying to bypass that by offering logins by Facebook or Google, because people trust their Google accounts a lot more. Just on discoverdash.com, actually, you can create an account and you can use your Google or your Facebook. So hopefully in the future, when Evolution comes out, I'm hoping we'll have a Dash Evolution merchant directory then, but we're a long way off that. But that's the ultimate goal. But that's my point. If you come across a website and you're like, I don't know, they're gonna have to look after my data. This, is your account, and by seeing that brand recognition, that you're not having to trust your email, your password with that party because you're in control of it. And I think that's actually quite a big selling point as well. Yeah,
and I think in these terms, login to somewhere with Dash would be even more useful than login with Facebook or Google. And the reason why, I think, is because you actually have to pay a fee for registering a username, while to create a Google account, you actually can set up some kind of bot. Google tries to, make it harder for people to just, bulk create accounts, but it's still possible. And with Dash, it actually will cost you something. It probably will be a really small amount of money, but again, if you're trying to do it in really huge bulks, it will
because it bypasses as well, because it's not just your user account, it's your bank account as well. Now, if I signed up with a service, for example, with just a username and email, username, password, or I use Facebook or I use Google. If it's a paid service, then I've got to add my bank details and stuff as well, which is another step in the process. If just by using Dash Pay and it's a goods and services platform, you've already overcome that obstacle because you've added your bank account in the process. And I think people will see the real power and advantage in that, because you're just taking that extra step out for people, and it makes it a lot more user friendly.
Yeah, that's one thing I also really hated about the old world, because I've been living unbanked for coming up on 3 years now. And even before then, I still like having like official day job kind of things. The thing I hated the most about it was the paperwork. It's like, yeah, great, we want to hire you. And then they just, all right, we got this big stack of paperwork you got to go through. You got to attach some ID, little picture of this and the photocopy of that, and then the little this and that. Here's your bank info, and here's the other thing, and just all that nonsense. I'm thinking about how easy is it to download a Dash wallet as opposed to setting up your bank account from scratch, and then the delays and all that kind of stuff, and just being able to plug in your identity, like your official identity and your financial information in just one little authorization can really decrease like the friction. So for example, say I want to hire someone who lives in Venezuela to do work, maybe video work for Dash News or something like that. That might start to sound a little bit familiar, right, Mark?
Yeah.
And then it's just finally like, all right, well, like, let's make it official. And then just like, here, plug in your Dash ID and what's your Dash ID? We'll just get you plugged in. And then bam, you just get plugged in. You have like the identity on file. You can communicate with that person through, say, encrypted messaging. And then you can just pay that person all the time, and not like, oh, what's your Dash address? Or, what are you going to change it this month? Or, instead of any of that stuff, it's just plug right in and you get going. That's something I'm very excited about.
Yeah. From a privacy standpoint as well, I know many of you watching this will be signed up to maybe 10, 20 different websites where you've already uploaded your bank account card details to that. So on all those different instances, you've got your bank details up.
It's funny.
That's
I
not
have
good.
The only service that I still have that on is Uber. And it doesn't the bank account associated and all the card doesn't exist anymore because I closed it. But now I just like buy bit refill Uber credits to keep using the app, and they don't even know that I don't have the associated whatever anymore. But yes,
this is why it's so important though, because if I don't want to say centralize is the wrong word, but it streamlines that process, because then you're becoming less risk adverse, right? Because we always talk about counterparty risk. And the truth is, if you're using multiple third-party trusted services and having your bank details stored on multiple, you're much more at risk. Now, just restricting that to Dash Pay, now, if you're using that, I'm hoping there's going to be like security aspects in there as well. So, whether you put in your PIN, your fingerprint, or some kind of code to verify it. So even if someone did get details to your Dash Pay account that you registered all these services, there are still other steps to go through, security things that would limit them and restrict them to be able to spend your funds. And I'm guessing you've worked on the fingerprint stuff recently, right? I think.
Yeah, for Android wallet, as far as I know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So do you think about security in that aspect in terms of like user friendly, or is that over to the kind of that's the Dash Pay app team's problem? That's not yours.
Of course, we think about this kind of stuff. And actually, in this term, paying with Dash would be really secure, because we plan to not for the very first release, but in one of the first releases, I think we plan to use BIP70. If you don't know what BIP70 is, it's payment requests. And when in this case, when you sign up to a service with Dash, you actually share just your username, and then we have some kind of, we've developed some kind of framework to send a message to a username, but anonymity anonymely through the Mastodon network. So you will be able to send a payment request to this username, and he will receive this payment request on his mobile wallet, and he will be able to say yes or no using his mobile wallet. So you actually don't need to pay anything on any service. They will just use, this payment request. So it's actually more secure than adding a card or your bank account to some kind of third-party service. Yes.
Okay. I've got a serious question for you. Don't panic. But I think really this would be a question on behalf of the Masternode network. So in terms of the developers working inside Core, do you think that we've hit a sweet spot? Do you think we've got the number just right now? Or do you think we need less? Or do you think we need more? Because sometimes, if we have too many, it's like too many chefs, and then you get communication issues. Do you think we got the number just right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously the team, grew quite a lot in 2018, and with scaling, just as we have within Dashforce, you have to create new processes of communication. You have different teams. You have to communicate. But in terms of evolution, you're happy with that team, because I wasn't sure if you may turn around and say, no, if we get more developers, we might be able to get evolution out faster. But do you think because of the expertise,
developers.
developers. But do you think like the evolution team, the numbers just right now?
Well, I think we actually could use more developers, but more developers better, but not always. Actually, after some point, adding more developers doesn't help to develop faster. So I think we actually could have a little bit more developers, but at the current numbers, we're still able to do stuff at good pace, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that, because there's obviously a steep learning curve as well, even if you just open up the market to developers right now, it's a bit different. I mean, in a way, what you're doing right now is open up Dash to third-party community developers. So when evolution comes along, hopefully there'll be armies of developers coming in to use the platform. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? But in terms of delivering evolution itself, you're confident in the team that we got right now, and you're not panicking, are you? Like you've got everything's controlled and being delivered okay, right? You're not saying we need more people.
Yeah, I actually think that at the current numbers of developers, we actually will be able to deliver evolution. And yeah, definitely, I'm not panicking. Actually, when this sharp drop in price happened, I actually was panicking, like I guess anyone else on the market. But when we are in this situation for a pretty long time, and things still working, I think we have enough people to deliver an evolution.
See, Anton, this is why you've got a golden opportunity right now. Now is perfect. And the reason why I got so excited about the Dash version of Steemit is because, in December, we saw 70% of their team get laid off, and it was like big news. And we've seen other projects as well where developers had to leave. Now, evolution in itself, once that's delivered, it's going to offer so much potential, because anyone who's got an idea can build on it. So obviously, if I could have evolution tomorrow, I'd click my fingers and make it happen. But in terms of progress in development, I know you can't say whether it's 70%, 80%, but do you feel like most of the thought process behind it, how it's going to be done, is sorted? It's now just finishing off the code and dusting it off and getting the bugs sorted.
Yeah, I think so. We finished. Actually, we already open sourced our some of the code of the evolution on our GitHub. It's now open sourced, and we plan to open source all our components in coming month. So we are working on it. transitioning it from our private work to public. And the reason why is because now we are, I wouldn't say that we are absolutely confident in that we done everything right, but I think this is a point when we can actually start sharing stuff with community, because we now have kind of straight course on how to deliver evolution.
Interesting.
Very nice. Getting confident. Like that confidence.
I'm starting to feel dashy. I'm feeling it. The glasses aren't
Yeah.
coming out yet, but they'll come out soon.
Yeah, I broke those out on an interview already this week, so it was pretty funny. Yeah, that's one thing that's always been a little bit of a source of controversy in the community. Not so much, but outside, especially outside of the community, has been a source of controversy, has been evolution being developed not publicly and released publicly, but being developed kind of cards close to the chest, looking around, or like that that meme with like the little girl holding like all the bitcoins to her chest, like that. So from your perspective, has that been nice, or has that been a challenge?
You mean a challenge of developing evolution privately? Well, yeah,
Yes.
It's actually a challenge, and I mean, we've done this. We had a reason, because we want to be sure that we are doing right thing, and if we start to share things too early, and when we do a lot of changes, and we redoing everything from scratch sometimes, and when this happens, I mean, it doesn't add confidence for community, because community will start to say things like, hey, those guys aren't all the guys don't know what they are doing, because they redoing all this stuff pretty often, and this is an early prototyping stage. It's actually pretty normal in any development cycle. And now when we are finally have a plan what exactly step by step we need to do, we start to open source in some components of the evolution. You can check out our GitHub, by the way. We already open sourced some of them.
How much has been open source? I mean, is it going to be usable? If there's any developers watching this right now, is it going to be worth their time to go check this out?
I think right now it's too little.
Okay.
But I think we're still working on prepare stuff to be open sourced, and I hope that it will happen soon.
Yeah, it's going to happen, but it's just going to be over time. So what I will say is, if you are a developer watching this and you do have some ideas and you've been watching this and it sparked your imagination, on the Dash Talk Discord, staydashy.com, I'll just throw this in now, that there's a brainstorm channel where there are avid people in the community, some not even developers, but they have ideas, and they're starting to, this is a talk channel where they talk about ideas, and we get people from all parts of the world, and they start working together on these ideas. And I think as more of this information becomes available, then these projects can be fully immersed. But getting the ideas together now and teams together is really important. So if you're watching this and thinking, I've got an idea, I want to do this, but it's too big for me to do by myself, but I think I've got an amazing idea, definitely go to Dash Talk Discord, staydashy.com, go to the brainstorm channel, meet other like-minded people, and then think big. You may be able to deliver these big ideas, and everything starts with a conversation.
Yes, just make sure you don't suggest Flash for Dash, because that's Mark's project.
That the domain's already taken. Sorry, folks. Seriously.
So, yeah, we're doing domain camping. Like, I'm sure some people will try to do username camping, but hopefully we get that solved.
So, that's quite refreshing. So we should say as well that if you are watching this, because I've shared the link on YouTube and stuff, and you are a developer, or you're an avid up and coming developer, or even if you're still at school and you're learning, there are still
even if you're 15 or 16 years old or whatever.
But you can still go to the
people in the crypto space, actually, which is a very encouraging thing.
Yes, there is a developer documentation portal which will show you all the fundamentals and help you bring you up to speed. In fact, I'll share that link in the live chat once I get a chance, and I'm not on camera because I have to check my bookmark list. But I will share that. So what I'll do in the live chat now, I'll show you the documentation just for users, but also for up-and-coming developers as well. And even if you're a diehard Dash fan, I'd say check it out, because looking into the inner workings of how private send, instant send work, these are things you should be interested in these things. So it's a great resource, and it's been added to all the time. So definitely check that out. Anton, is there anything else I'm missing in terms of development? We've got your JavaScript libraries, but they're not ready for prime time just yet, are they? So,
well, the Dash core library is actually open sourced, and it was open sourced for a while. And actually, all those dips that described in DashPay, they are actually implemented there already, a bit ahead of Dash core itself. So you actually can check out some, coming stuff in the future releases already. Yeah, so we are actually open sourcing stuff. I think, soon it will be open sourced.
Yeah, and I just want to stress, you don't have to be just a developer. So although I'm just talking about your development, even if you have a good idea, that's the whole point. Come to the Discord channel and talk to people, because there will be other developers there and like-minded people that may be able to make your idea a reality. And we're a community-led project, so we need people like you, because it's people like us that make it happen. So get in there. No excuses.
Absolutely. Now, something that Joshua said in the live chat, Joshua's another esteemed evolution developer. He says, I think the main drawback of closeted development isn't the risk of our skill being questioned, but the loss of additional perspectives regarding the work. But there is a related advantage, that we are able to make progress without the constant activity of defending it publicly and making sure everyone understands that what is in the progress. Now, I mean, he says, I think we would prefer to do public development, but private is probably worth it since it gives Dash a competitive advantage. Yeah, and I kind of, it is always the trade-off of you want to include everyone, right? Because you want to include the most things possible, the most people possible, the most skill sets, the most perspectives. And then there's also the thing of sometimes you don't want just a loud yelling match of an environment. Sometimes you don't want like everyone saying, I think you should do this, or I think you should do. It's like, no, just let me. Like, that's why, for example, a business owner, when they're starting a business, obviously they want to do market research and things like that. But ultimately, it's their own idea that they have to pursue to create. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's something about when everyone's trying to have an input into, oh, we should get it this way, you should get it this way. And then they launch, especially if you find something that's a popular opinion, like, oh, yeah, everyone should implement SegWit. It's great. Everyone does SegWit and Dash. And you say, I think I have a better idea. And it's the less popular option, and you implement the less popular option. It's like, oh, he's terrible, centralized, tyrannical. Like, then all of a sudden it just gets too crazy. So yeah, there's definite trade-offs to both of those.
Yeah, Ash Francis in the live chat just pointed out there have even been people with ideas who weren't developers who became developers to make their ideas happen. I'm actually thinking of Spark Payments right now, Joel, because that's been a great success story. And shout out to Kodaks if he's watching, because he had a great idea and he made it happen himself, and he learned through that process. He made that happen. So he's another great community developer that makes things happen. And Ash as well. He's worked on community funded projects as well, and rep in the UK, although he's moving to Canada. But yeah, so there are people in the community that are developers as well that will help and assist you and point you in that right direction. And if it's a really good idea, they'll probably want to team up and join with you as well. So yeah, happy days. Right, Anton, is there anything else on evolution that you feel like we've missed out on that you think that we should plug, or you think the community isn't aware of? Is there anything that you think that we don't talk about enough when it comes to evolution?
Let me think.
I think some people don't really truly understand the power of the DAPI, because we've only really spoken about that before when Alex Werner was on, and it's the DAPI really that helps plug everything together. In fact, it's kind of the glue even in Evolution, right? Because it's a stack, right? And it brings everything together.
Yeah, this is actually how we call it a glue. It's a glue layer, actually, in fact. It brings all the different components together, and you can use it. Basically, it's actually the component that enables this off-chain storage, because we don't want to embed it in Dash core code. We call it layer 2 or tier 2 data. That is data that's stored off-chain. And we have a, this Dash drive component that actually stores this data, and DAPI glues them together in one system. And I think this is actually pretty good, because blockchain can still function without Dash drive, and this is actually good. It leads to less coupled system, which is easier to maintain, to see things. For example, if something fails in Ethereum, it just fails. Just like recent, who this was, Block Cipher, I believe, the guys who migrated this huge Ethereum state, and it failed. And in our case, if if something goes wrong and Dash drive isn't functioning for some reason, you still can send payments because blockchain works perfectly fine. It's two separate systems that glued together through.
Yeah. And it allows you to easily plug in as well, right? And pull information out. And I think that's the real secret sauce that I think people, I think, I wait for the day. I long for the day when we're going to have this dApps marketplace. And when things start popping up, I think people just start to transfer other existing applications and ideas, but just apply it to Dash. And the speed that you'll be able to do that will be so much faster because of the DAPI. And then I think once people start comparing, because there are other dApps platforms and projects being created right now, but I think this is the advantage of what Dash has. And if you wasn't developing, say, well, I could build something on EOS, I could build it on Dash, I could build it on this, but hang on, the speed that I can put it in, and in terms of infrastructure, I think it's going to be such a more streamlined approach. And I'm guessing, you could even build in, tools and stuff to help plug that in. We spoke about the dApp generator as well, where we can create schemas, which are kind of like skeletons for those that aren't familiar with the term schema, but it's like a skeleton framework, which gives you kind of a template to speed up that process. I think the core team have done a phenomenal job. I realize a lot of this is very technical and goes over the heads of most people, but I think in terms of laying a foundation, once the floodgates open, it really is just a case of getting developers to take a look and get involved. And I'm guessing that's why Anton's talking to his friends, because he's like, this is great, right?
Yeah, right.
Excellent. So, right, I think it's getting to that time, but Justin hasn't said the word yet. So is it getting to that time, Justin?
I know. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay. Justin, do you want to ask a question? Sorry, man. Once I start, I'm like a tornado. Yeah, I can't help it,
I think one question I have is what do you believe the community, the Dash community, should be most excited to see come out of Dash Core in the next 6 months?
That's a good question. LLMQs and the chain locks will be a really huge feature, because it's just like I said, it will make 51% attack very hard to do, and this is certainly will be came out in the nearest future. So talking about 6 months, planning something on that horizon is actually more difficult, because things happening. But I can say that chain locks would be one of really awesome features that will came really soon.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, especially since we can always brag about it to other cryptocurrencies. Every time someone suffers some 51% tap, look what Dash has.
Yeah. I think Bob Carroll, when he came on the podcast, did a really good job of differentiating between the two. A lot of people still think Evolution is the DashPay app. They're two separate things. Evolution is the platform. The DashPay app is the first DApp to be built on the Evolution platform. That makes things a lot more possible, which means we're not going to see the DashPay app until Evolution is released. So, Anton, get working. But this is a great thing. And Joelle did a fantastic article this week on the Edge wallet updates. And of course, everyone is rooting for the DashPay app, and we want it to be great because we want to bring on people. We want it to be user friendly. We want to be the cryptocurrency your grandmother can use. We want to make sure it ticks all the boxes, and it is going to be a modular process, just like any app in the App Store. It's going to get updates along the way. But my point being that the DashPay app is just the first DApp. So other wallets like Edge that are doing updates and stuff can pull information and be better as well, right? We believe in the free market. And if you haven't checked that out, definitely read Joelle's article, because Edge has been doing some really cool stuff. And I'm a big fan of their wallet, especially when I'm traveling abroad. Just being able to go through customs, delete the app and reinstall it, just in case. You never know. But that's why do I do that? Because you've got the username password. Hopefully with the DashPay app, I won't have to run into those issues. Joelle, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I do not.
No, he doesn't, because I nailed it.
We completed it. Yes.
Right. That's good. Okay, cool. But if you're not reading dashnews.org, you definitely should. We get at least 2 articles out every single day, 7 days a week. And Joelle has been really stepping up recently. Loads of fantastic interviews. Got a great interview lined up next week. I don't know if we'll reveal the details of that yet. I don't know. Joelle, what do you reckon? It is Dash's birthday after all.
The details of what?
Of your fantastic interview that will be released next week. Are we going to stay quiet about that for now? Or?
I'll just say one thing. Roger Ver has already updated his Dash node 0.13. For those of you who haven't, what are you waiting for? The big Bitcoin.com guy is already running the latest version of Dash, and you aren't? For shame.
Well, there you go. There you go. So you better, if you haven't, you better subscribe to Dash News YouTube channel, because that's going to drop soon. And for the last 3 weeks running, I think Joelle's been putting out at least one quality interview each week. So definitely check that out. So make sure you subscribe. Is it that time, gentlemen?
Yeah,
I mean, it is time.
Even though the sun's going down, I got to put on some glasses, man, because the Dash's future is just a little too bright.
Yeah, I mean, it is Dash's birthday. I think we should. I think it's the only right thing to do. So, Anton, thank you for joining us. You've been a fantastic guest. You had nothing to worry about. I think you absolutely nailed it. So I hope you've enjoyed the podcast, and I hope that you'll come back on again.
Yeah, sure. I did, and I hope I will.
Yeah, excellent. And on that note, that was episode 87, and Joelle, take us out.
Yes. If you like these sweet shades, contact Joshua Siegler, Dashcore developer, who has much better things to do, but he has a box. So that's 1. 2, if you like this at all, you should like, share, and subscribe on video. Comment on it too. I actually do read and answer those comments. Mark does too when he's feeling like you're privileged enough. And we put out a audio only version of this as well, in case you're one of those non-video podcasters, which there's some of that, not me, but
still make sure to check out the video so you can see these awesome sunglasses.
Yeah, there's a lot you'd kind of miss. And as always, we do the after party after this, which is just like this, but instead of 4 of us here, it's 10 of us at a time, and we're all just chatting. Mark goes into a little bit more about his Flash for Dash ideas and stuff. It's a jolly good show, and yeah, you get to be part of it if you want, but you have to go to staydashy.com, and that gets you into the Dash Talk Discord. Then you start asking around saying, hey, where's the after party at? Where's the after party at? And if there's enough slots in the after party, you get to go in.
Excellent. So I hope you found this podcast to be informative. If you did, please press that like button, smash for Dash, and don't forget to share and subscribe. And also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you
Dash
can
for
be
Dash.
alerted about future podcasts that we do every Friday, 8 p.m. UTC, 3 p.m. EST. So I hope to see some of you at staydashy.com in the after party Discord. Better be quick, only 10 spaces available. And I just want to finish off by saying 5 years in Dash. When I got my dark coin in 2014, I had no idea Dash was going to be the beast that it is today. So much innovation, and we're still leading from the front. I'm more optimistic than ever. So happy birthday to everyone in the Dash community. I've made some great friends through the years through Dash, and the best is still yet to come. 2019 for Dash is going to be great, and what a great week to have the 0.13 update, the biggest major release. That was a historic milestone for Dash. So that if you haven't checked out the product debrief of 0.13, go to blog.dash.org. You can read all the cool new features on that. Instant send, private send, special transactions, so much great stuff. Deterministic masternode list. I could go on. There's so much stuff. Go out, check it, read it, enjoy it. On that note, though, have a fantastic weekend. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy.
Peace, guys.
Bye, everyone.